I became angry and then hurt, and so I decided, two can play this game. So I turned to him and I said, "Hi, can I buy you a drink?" He looked at me, and it was all over for me.
From NCPR and the Adirondack Center for Writing, this is the Howl Podcast. I'm Ethan Shanty. Welcome back. It's super good to be back with you again after a couple of months away. This is Season 5 of The Howl, and we start things off with a love story. I like to say that almost everything good in my life has come from playing music. It's the reason that I have friends in far-flung places all over the country, and it's why I have this weird career in radio, and it's how I met my girlfriend, too. A lot of dudes who play rock music or punk music or metal will tell you that it's a great way to meet girls, but honestly, I've never really found that that is the case because who wants to date a musician? I mean, a lot of us are broke and we don't have steady jobs. Musicians can be pretty emotionally unstable dudes as well. And if you've just gotten done playing a set, you're probably disgusting and covered in sweat. I mean, no shade at all whatsoever to band dudes. I'm one of them, but it's just the reality. It takes a real special someone to see through all of that grime. So let's jump back to 2013. My band is going through a bit of a transitional period. We lost our singer, we gained a new guitar player. We're figuring out how to be a band again, and we're trying out our material at small local shows. And when I say small, I mean like taking over the living room of someone's house small. And that's where I was when I met Aaron. The band had set up a show out in the middle of nowhere in Winthrop, not even close to the main drag. It's like a back road of a back road of a back road. It was April 20th. And the house was packed to the brim with our friends and actually a couple of other bands who had driven from about 10 hours away to get here. I don't know what compelled them to come that far, but they did, and it was a blast. And I had invited some friends who were still studying at SUNY Potsdam. They were super excited to come, and their roommate, Aaron, at the time, was dating this dude for a few weeks, but she knew it wasn't going to work out. She hadn't quite figured out how she was going to break up with him yet, so she was avoiding that conversation. And when she found out that her friends were going to a show, she decided to hop in the car too and, wasn't really sure what she was getting into at all. I was immediately taken with Aaron, but I didn't really have a chance to make a great first impression. I introduced myself, shook hands, apologized that I didn't have time to stay and chat because I had to start setting up my drum set, and then my friend Sean, ever the charmer, punched me somewhere very sensitive. I called him a name I can't repeat on this podcast, and then I left to set up my kit. I figured that would probably be it for me and Erin's chances. I mean, she was pretty, she seemed nice, but she was about to watch my stupid band, and I figured that would probably make her realize that I wasn't worth her time. But God bless Facebook, right? I was logged on later that night, and I saw that she came up as a friend of a friend, and I thought, well, what the hell, why not? She accepted my friend request, and a few days later, I tested the waters, and I asked her, I know this is so stupid, but I asked her if she liked Bill and Ted. You know, those time-traveling weirdos from the 80s movies? Well, she said that she did like Bill and Ted. So what I did is I sent her this fake radio commercial that I had made for a fake flavor of Mountain Dew that was going to be released in conjunction with a then fake Bill and Ted 3. It was as stupid as it sounds. But I learned later that that was the moment that she decided if I asked her out, she would say yes. She loved Bill and Ted, and she thought that that stupid commercial that I made at my free time at my last radio job was hilarious. And earlier this month, we celebrated 13 years together. And to think, right, if she hadn't been trying to avoid some other dude, and I hadn't invited my friends to see my band play, we never would have ended up together. So that's my story. But now, it's time for the real star of the show. Anne Monroe is a reader of the Howl newsletter, and a couple of months ago, she responded to my column and told me the story of how she and her husband got together. He was a complete stranger, and once she figured out the guy that she was dating at the time wasn't going to work out, well, she decided to buy this stranger a shot of Jim Beam whiskey. So I asked her to come into the studio and tell me the whole story. By the way, if you stick around after the show, I will play you that famous Bill and Ted commercial, but for right now, here's Anne Monroe from Saranac Lake in the NCPR studios.
So before you pass judgment on me, I just want to tell you two things. One, I am not a barfly. And two, I really am not that kind of girl. So I had just turned 18, legal enough to drink in New York State in bars. My boyfriend at the time and I hadn't made any special plans for this particular weekend, and I decided on a whim to go to this bar that we had frequented in the past. One of my favorite bands was playing, and so I figured I can go by myself. I'll just have a couple drinks, listen to some good music, and then I'll go home. Nothing too exciting, right? Well, as it turned out, it was quite exciting and a little bit disconcerting. Picture this, a bar, dark and smoky, people talking, laughing, bartenders taking drink orders and frantically trying to fill pitchers of beer. The band in the corner tuning up for the evening set. Now, picture me, a girl, alone, sitting at a corner table, trying to look cool and sophisticated, glass of wine on the table. All I needed now was an unfiltered cigarette to complete the picture of sophistication. When, to my dismay and surprise, walked in my now former boyfriend with another woman on his arm. And this woman was the receptionist at my dentist's office. I just didn't really know what to do. I became angry and then hurt. And so I decided, two can play this game. Even though I didn't really know the game's rules or what to do, I thought for a moment to myself, I know. I'll just sidle up to the bar and I'll take a seat. And I ordered another glass of wine. When I looked to my right, what a handsome stranger. And he's tan in January. I had to know more about this guy. So what do I say? Do you come here often sounds kind of weird. And even weaker sounds, can I buy you a drink? But that's what I decided on. So I turned to him and I said, hi, can I buy you a drink? He looked at me and it was all over for me. Those big brown eyes, a girl could get lost in them. Sure, I'll have a shot of Jim Beam on the rocks. So I got the bartender's attention. I ordered another glass of wine for myself and his Jim Beam. I had to know more about this tan. So, were you in Florida? He laughed. No, I'm just back in the States. I've been in the Amazon jungle in Brazil. Wow, I thought, that's pretty crazy. He proceeded to tell me the story that he had gone to the forestry school at Syracuse University. When nothing came up in the forestry field, he got a call from an import lumber company based in Mobile, Alabama. The job? Grading lumber from the Amazon rainforest in a little tiny jungle settlement in Brazil. He proceeded to tell me about the time that he had looked so forward to a watermelon that he had purchased from a small ship that docked at the port where he was stationed. He dreamed about it as he lay in his hammock that night. But then he heard the small scritching noises running around in the hut. To his dismay, in the morning when he woke up, the rind of the watermelon and seeds were scattered all over the floor of the hut. The rats had eaten his watermelon. He also told me about the time that another co-worker who had collected butterflies had enough gas or whatever they used for it to euthanize a tarantula they saw in the outhouse. They finagled a little lasso of dental floss and they caught the tarantula, euthanized it, and put it in a jar. The guy was going to take it home and add it to his collection of butterflies and other exotic insects. However, the tarantula met the same end as the watermelon. I laughed, we talked, we were getting along swimmingly. The hour was getting late, and maybe we even danced a couple times. It was just about time to go home, and he asked me, hey, do you want to ride home? Well, sure, I said. Well, it was January, you know, and it was cold outside, and it was dark and late. I thought, wait a minute, who gets in a car with a stranger you just met 2 hours before? Well, that girl was me. So we got in his car. He asked me if I minded whether or not we could stop at his house. Sure, I said. He picked up a 6-pack of beer, We drove around for a while, we talked, and I vaguely remember in the background the mixtape that was in his car. It was Meatloaf's Bad Outta Hell album. Well, invariably, you know what happened next. Yep, we parked, but I will spare you the details. Anyway, I remember hearing this song as we were passionately kissing. Remember the song about the girl and the guy? I think it was called Paradise by the Dashboard Lights. Well, there's a line in the song where the girl screams out, "Stop right there! I have to know, do you love me? Will you love me forever? Do you need me?" Well, we stopped way before we got to that point. The next thing I remember, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Oh my gosh, what was I going to do? How was I going to get into the house without anyone waking up or hearing me or seeing me, catching me coming in at that hour of the morning? It would be a miracle. Well, I did, and it was. Somehow during the night we had managed to exchange phone numbers, and I was really hoping he'd call. I was determined myself not to call. Well, he called, and we continued to date that summer. Remember I told you I was just barely legal in New York State? Well, I was getting ready to graduate from high school, and I had grown up on a farm. I was the oldest of 6 kids, and the biggest thrill of my life so far, it had been when my dad was teaching me to drive a tractor, and I popped a wheelie on a hill as I was learning to shift gears. So when I had the chance to go attend nursing school in Boston, you betcha I was going. I was ready to get off the farm and go see the big city and the big wide world outside. I was wondering to myself, would he wait for me? Was this just a one-night stand? Was this relationship going to last? I will admit, long-distance relationships are really hard to maintain. And this was before the day of the internet, FaceTime, and cell phones. We wrote mostly letters and phone calls on the weekends when I could get to the phone. There was only one phone in the dorm, and sometimes you had to wait while all the other girls were swooning and crying and carrying on how much they missed the boyfriend back at home. Well, he did wait for me. After dating for 2 years, we were married. We had a lovely wedding, and we have grown to love each other more deeply than I could ever have imagined. We've raised a family of 5 kids, 2 homemade and 3 adopted. We discovered trail running, and recently I helped him complete the holy grail of trail running to complete a 100-mile race and obtain that coveted belt buckle. We've moved around a bit with his job. We've traveled a little bit, and we've really enjoyed learning about the Adirondack Mountains, and we have retired here, and we're living here, and we're loving it. And just think, this all started with a shot of Jim Beam.
Thanks for tuning in for this week's episode of the Howl Podcast. Don't forget to click follow so you never miss an episode, and make sure that you subscribe to the Howl newsletter too. You'll get a chance to appear on the show if you respond to my column. Next week, we'll hear from Dan Badger about his one-way writing rivalry.
She was just a sweet, smart, well-adjusted young girl going about her business, and it turns out that I am a psychopath. And I was losing my mind.
The Howl Podcast is a co-production of NCPR and the Adirondack Center for Writing in Saranac Lake. The show is written, produced, hosted, and edited by me, Ethan Shanty. David Summerstein is our script supervisor, Bill Hanel is our director of digital services, and Anna Williams-Bergen is our digital projects specialist. To learn more about this show and to make a donation in support of North Country Storytelling, visit ncpr.org/howl. By the way, our theme music is by famous letter writer of Plattsburgh. And now, without any further ado, here is that stupid Bill and Ted commercial I made that got me a date.
Tired of your boring life? Then pick up a new do. That's right, the new do. It's Grape Mango Shred Fest, and it's only here for a limited time. Celebrate the new Bill and Ted movie with Do's Grape Mango Shred Fest, available for a limited time. See Bill and Ted on the screen. It's got Alex Winter on the bottle.
Who's that?
you, we couldn't get Keanu, so just drink it. It's Grape Mango Shredfest by Mountain Dew. And catch Bill and Ted in their next excellent new adventure,
69 dudes!
only in theaters July something whatever.
We'll see you next time. For NCPR, I'm Ethan Shanty. This is The Howl.